Just think about it for a moment. 7 world titles, an absolute icon of Formula One, a reference point for entire generations of fans. Lewis Hamilton is leaving Mercedes after 18 years of historic partnership to fulfill every driver's dream, to wear the red Ferrari jumpsuit. But what if I told you that this change is proving much more difficult than anyone expected? What if I told you that Ferrari itself has openly admitted that it was naive to believe that Hamilton would settle in without any problems? Fred Vasseur, the Italian team's director, has just revealed something that is rocking the corridors of Maranello and could completely transform our view of the 7-time champion's future with the most iconic team on the planet. Hamilton's transfer to Ferrari in 2025 was supposed to be glorious. After years of supremacy with Mercedes, the English driver would finally realize every racer's ultimate dream: to drive for the legendary Italian team. At 40 years of age, Hamilton wasn't just changing teams, he was transforming his existence. For the first time in his career, he would leave the British context he had mastered so perfectly to immerse himself in the unique and engaging atmosphere of Maranello. It would also be his debut behind the wheel of a non-Mercedes engine, a technical transformation that many underestimated at the time. The world was waiting to see the dominant Lewis of recent years, the one capable of extracting speed from any car and instantly standing out in the red Ferrari. However, the truth has been quite different. The data is relentless and reveals a disturbing narrative. Hamilton is 42 points behind his teammate Charles Leclerc during the mid-year break. While Leclerc has already reached the podium 5 times this season, Hamilton has not yet managed to finish in the top 3 even once. For a driver accustomed to battling for victories and championships, these figures represent much more than just negative statistics. They represent a crisis of acclimatization that no one predicted. And that is precisely what prompted Fred Vasseur to draw an analogy that is causing turmoil in the Formula One paddock. The Ferrari boss compared Hamilton's difficulties to the much smoother transition Carlos Sainz experienced when he joined the team. The difference? Sainz had already changed teams several times during his career, moving from Toro Rosso to Renault and McLaren before arriving at Maranello. Hamilton, on the other hand, remained in the same context for 18 years, dividing his career between McLaren and Mercedes, always with British teams and always with the same operating philosophy. Vasseur was brutally honest in acknowledging Ferrari's misjudgment. Looking back, I have to admit that we, Lewis and I, underestimated the transition to a different environment, said the Frenchman. He stayed with the same team for 18 years, if I can call McLaren and Mercedes home. It was a British team, and the engine atmosphere always remained the same. There is a bigger distinction between Ferrari and Mercedes than between Mercedes and McLaren. This admission is devastating because it exposes something few imagined. Even a team with Ferrari's pedigree can make elementary planning mistakes. When Lewis joined Ferrari, we naively believed that he would dominate everything. He's not like Carlos Sainz, who switches teams every few years and is familiar with the process, added Vasseur. These statements echo as a warning to the entire Formula One world. Not even the greatest champions are immune to obstacles when they leave their comfort zone. The situation became even more intense during the last weekend before the mid-year break in Budapest. Hamilton was not only eliminated in Q2 while Leclerc took pole position, but he also starred in one of the most tense episodes of his time at Ferrari so far. Frustrated with the performance, Hamilton suggested that Ferrari should change drivers, a statement that sent shockwaves throughout Maranello. He later called himself useless, repeating the same negative comments he had expressed during his turbulent final year at Mercedes. But perhaps most worrying was when Hamilton mentioned situations behind the scenes at Ferrari that are not great. What scenes are these? What internal problems are impacting the 7-time champion? These questions remain unanswered, but they demonstrate that Hamilton's challenges extend far beyond what we see on the track. Vasseur, however, does not seem concerned about these emotional outbursts. Stay calm. was his response when asked how to make Hamilton feel truly at ease. Lewis is extremely self-critical. He is always radical in his reactions. Sometimes he is very harsh on the car, sometimes on himself. He wants to get the most out of himself and everyone on the team. The Ferrari boss explains that he is familiar with this type of demanding driver, comparing Hamilton to Nico Hülkenberg, who was also extremely strict when he raced for Vasseur in Formula 3. He demanded a lot from the team, but he was also there every morning at 6:30, recalls Vasseur, suggesting that extreme demands can be channeled in a positive way. According to Vasseur, Hamilton finally began to find his way at the Canadian Grand Prix. It took 4 to 5 races for Lewis to get to grips with the situation. Since the Canadian Grand Prix, he's really been on the right track, said the Frenchman. This indicates that we are only seeing the beginning of the real Hamilton at Ferrari. If this analysis is correct, the second half of the season could be completely different from the first. And here comes a crucial element that could change everything. The 2026 regulations. Hamilton has signed a multi-year contract with Ferrari, which is believed to extend until the end of 2026, precisely when revolutionary changes to Formula 1 technical regulations come into force. This coincidence may not be a coincidence at all. At 40 years of age, Hamilton understands that he does not have much time to win his 8th world title and become the greatest champion in the history of the category. The 2026 regulations could completely redistribute the forces on the grid, offering Ferrari and Hamilton a valuable opportunity to return to the top. But this will only happen if the acclimatization process is successfully completed. If Hamilton can find the rhythm that made him a legend, if Ferrari can establish the ideal environment to maximize his talent, then 2026 could be the year of complete redemption. Ferrari's admission of innocence can actually be interpreted as an encouraging sign. Acknowledging a mistake is the first step toward fixing it. And if Vasseur is correct about Hamilton finally being on the right track since Canada, then perhaps we are about to see the real Lewis Hamilton of Ferrari emerge in the second half of this season. The question is it too late for 2025, or is this just the necessary preparation for something much bigger in 2026? Time will tell, but one thing is certain. This acclimatization story is far from over and could define not only Hamilton's future, but the very fate of Ferrari in the contemporary era of Formula 1. What do you think? Will Hamilton be able to fully acclimatize to the Ferrari culture, or are the obstacles greater than we imagine? Share your opinion in the comments, and if you want to keep up with all the latest news from behind the scenes of Formula 1, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. See you next time.